Welcome to PT on Ice, a daily show. My name is Jessica Davis, and I am coming to you at my new clinic, Perform Physio. So I wanted to show you guys while we're waiting for everybody to log on. I want to show you my new clinic. It's under construction, so I'll give you a little pan view here. Got Amber here because we're going to do dance today. So I'll keep you guys posted on all the construction. It's fun. It's a learning curve. Okay, so today we're going to go over point readiness. And what made me think about this topic was the Journal of Dance Medicine and Science just published a study on it was a systematic review on the results of treatment of posterior ankle impingement and flexor hallucis longus tendinopathy. And when I was reading the article, I was looking at the number of studies that they had in it that covered surgical treatment and compared to those that covered conservative treatment. So this was interesting. So there were 576 publications, and 27 of them reported on operative treatment that they included in the study. And they looked at 376 ankles, 324 subjects. And the outcomes of surgery for these conditions are good to excellent, with an 89% likelihood of return to dance. And the mean time to return to dance is 11 weeks. And for isolated flexor hallucis longus tendinopathy, the return to dance is actually 16 weeks. So in this study, there were only 6 publications out there that discussed conservative treatment for these conditions. And I looked, and I was looking for research as well on this, on conservative treatment, and there really isn't much out there. So that gets you thinking, why are we not discussing conservative treatment for these conditions? And according to the systematic review, they of course said it's because the outcomes aren't as good. So ultimately, if you have these conditions, long term, average age was about 20, they end up having surgery for these conditions. And the publications on conservative treatment, they said were very poorly written. So they said basically there needs to be more research to determine what is effective truly. Hi everybody. So that got me thinking, because we develop these conditions in dance due to underlying ankle instability. And we know that the number one injury that dancers face is a lateral ankle sprain, and that's because of the point work that they do, right? Or in the releve, that plantar flex positioning. When they're constantly in that positioning, they have that likelihood of course, all it just takes is a little bit of eversion, and then they end up having a lateral ankle sprain. And once you have that lateral ankle sprain, unfortunately, they have to deal with that chronic ankle instability. And dancers are very, very adept at creating alternate movement patterns so that they can continue to dance despite that ankle instability. And you think about that long term, then it adds up to these conditions over time. So that also got me thinking about, what can we do as therapists to prevent this from happening at all? Because we ultimately don't want our dancers to have surgery. We don't want to put them at risk of not returning to dance and not being able to continue their careers. So that gets beyond the topic of point readiness, because I was thinking that's an area where we need to, as therapists, we can really have an impact on these young dancers. So there was a fabulous article that came out that reviewed this, and it was published in the Journal of Dance Medicine and Science in 2015, and they looked at functional tests to determine point readiness. And so the traditional criteria prior to this research was looking predominantly at the chronological age of the dancer. So if a dancer is at the average age of 12 to 15 is the typical age, and that's because the theory is they've developed skeletal maturity and they're ready for point work. So, but if we know what happens at that age, dancers are growing, right? So their bones are growing, but their muscles and their nervous system isn't adept to that growth. So it's kind of a conundrum when you think about it, having that altered movement pattern and not having the strength, and now you're putting them in toe shoes, making them even more unstable. So they did a survey, and 96% of the studios that responded, the dance instructors responded that they isolate the criteria just to age. So 96% of them just look at the age of the dancer. The other typical classic criteria is looking at years of dance training, as well as ankle plantar flexion range of motion. So one of the tests that they do is called a pencil test. So I want to show you what that is, just so you understand what they look for in terms of plantar flexion. So I'm going to move this tripod. I'm getting used to my tripod. Alan's going to be so proud of me having a tripod, I'm assuming. All right, Amber, I'm going to have you, let's get you, on the ground here. Let's see if we can get the proper lighting. There we go, yep. Okay, so what you do for this is you have the dancer get in full plantar flexion. You basically take a pencil and you rest it on their foot. So ideal criteria for proper plantar flexion is having a straight pencil. So obviously Amber has this. So if they don't have that, go ahead and have bad plantar flexion. See how they're not having that proper angle. So the theory is if they don't have adequate plantar flexion range of motion, they're going to struggle when they're on point. Perfect. Okay, so those are the traditional criteria that they look into. But what I loved about this study was they considered function, right? So they wanted to pursue, they thought, there has to be some element of neuromuscular control, some way that we can test that. And so they came up with different functional tests, and what they did was in this study, they blinded the dance instructors. They had the students perform these functional tests, and then the dance instructors were blinded to the results of those tests, and then the dance instructors determined based on their own criteria if they felt the dancer was ready for pointe. And 3 tests came out as statistically significant predictors of readiness for pointe work. One was called the topple test, one was called the airplane test, and the other was called the single lace saute test. So what I was going to do is show you these tests because I think it would be helpful as therapists that if you have a young dancer that comes in and says, oh, I'm getting my toe shoes, I'm so excited, you can put them through this work and see if in your own mind, if you feel that this dancer is truly ready, and then you can communicate with the dance instructors about different ideas that you might have of whether they may or may not be quite functionally ready. So we're going to show you the topple test first. The topple test is basically a single pirouette en dehors. And what you're looking for, so I'm going to have, let's see, oh no, we're going to do this way, Amber. Okay, perfect. All right, so when you do this test, it's from 4th position, and you have them perform a single pirouette. So the test requires just 1 pirouette, and you're looking for the test that they can achieve a full passe position. So full passe position, actually demonstrate a passe. Okay, so this is a perfect passe. So what we're looking for in passe is this nice angle, knee, hip angle, where the foot is positioned, and look how to the side that her knee is, right? So go ahead and go into 4th position. So she's going to do a single pirouette and land, and look at that control. So the test determines, this is the criteria to pass. So you have to be able to maintain full passe position, and then you're looking for the trunk. So if the trunk has any kind of deviation to the side, if they fumble, go into a bad pirouette, like a pirouette that you would see a student do. So yes, did you see what she did? So that's common. So you're going to see these young dancers have not the ability to maintain that neuromuscular control when they do their pirouette. So it's just, to pass this test, they only have to do 1, maintaining that lower leg fully extended, the gesture leg in a passe position, and not faltering in their trunk, and then having adequate landing. Do it one more time. Perfect. Okay, so the next is an airplane test. Now they determined that this test was the most sensitive of the 3 in determining pointe readiness. So what it is it requires the dancer to be in a pitched forward type position. The non-supporting leg is basically in an arabesque, if you want to think of it. Yes, and what we're looking for in this position, from this angle, the dancer has to be in parallel, which I love, they don't like that. And you're looking to see if their trunk deviates. So this is their starting position. You want this to be straight. Then the dancer comes from this position and they go down into a demi-plie with the goal of getting their hands actually to the foot. Yes, and then back up. And all the way straight, yep. And then down again. And back up. Now, I want you to turn around, face the camera, and I want you to do the same thing. So you look at this test from 2 different angles. So you're looking at it from the side to see if she can maintain that proper trunk alignment. And then, guess what? We're looking from this angle to see what the knee is doing. and the trunk. So we're looking to make sure that they don't have that valgus. So you have the dancer do 5 times. So to pass this test, the dancer has to do 4 of the 5, meeting all of these criteria. So the criteria are that the knee maintains neutral, so they're not getting in that valgus type positioning, that they maintain that level pelvis, that they're not tilting, and that their back and their head are aligned in one plane the whole time as they go down. So you're not seeing a deviation like a tipping forward. And that at the foot, they don't have pronation. So there's 4 criteria to review. Knee over the center of the foot, proper trunk alignment, back and head in one line, and the knee not going into a valgus and no pronation. So they have to do that 5 times. Oops, I'm losing all my pages. Okay, so the last test, the 3rd test, is called the single sauté test. So it is exactly as it sounds. It's a sauté test. You have to tell the dancer you want to do sauté on one leg, in turn out. Okay, now the dancer has to do this 16 consecutive times. So go ahead and start sauté. So that's a sauté, good. And what you're looking for in the sauté to pass this test is we're looking at the trunk. Go ahead and jump up again. Is she able to maintain that erect positioning? We're looking at the neutral lower extremity alignment, keep going up and down. So we're watching, we might walk ourselves to the side. So go ahead and turn around to the side. Looking at the leg, is her knee maintaining that proper alignment when she lands, right? Looking for valgus. And then go ahead and jump up. When she comes up on l'air, in the air, we're looking that she can get that knee totally straight and a fully plantar flexed foot. Good. And the last, go ahead and turn facing the camera again. The last criteria is that you're getting the heel all the way down. Go ahead and jump up and get that heel down. So we've talked in previous episodes about injuries occurring because they're not getting their heels down. So those are the tests for the single leg sauté and the criteria you're looking for. So to pass this one, they're a little bit more friendly in this one. You only have to meet that 8 times. But again, you want to test right and left, have the dancer do 16, they get 8 shots at doing it perfectly. So if a dancer passes all 3 of those functional tests and then meets the traditional criteria that we look for, then you can feel pretty confident that that dancer is ready for point work. And so the lovely thing about that is, if you think about it, if you get your dancers perfectly strong before they do their point work, then we're already setting them up for a success rate. We're limiting the neuromuscular control issues and strength issues that might lend themselves to some type of an injury, right, aka a lateral ankle sprain, and then getting into this path of instability and problems that will lead them to developing a flexor hallucis longus tendinopathy or posterior ankle impingement type issue. So if we can prevent this early on in a young dancer, that's a way that we can do it. So I actually just used this the other day. I had a ballroom dancer as a patient, and she didn't come to me for point work. She came to me because she had an ankle sprain, and I did these tests with her, and I gave them to her for homework. So she found it, especially the airplane test, it's a great functional test. And so that was part of our homework and working on the sautés and working on proper landing so that she's able to have that neuromuscular control. And she was alarmed that she didn't have that neuromuscular control. She was all over the place. So you can get creative with these things, but again, love the research that's coming out. And I hope you find this helpful. And I look forward to any discussion, so reach out to me. And thank you for listening to me today, and have a fabulous day.